Hi, welcome to the Chess Files. The answers are out there. I'm James Eade of the Eade Foundation. You can call me Jim. The Eade Foundation is dedicated to building communities through chess. And if you're part of a community, you're never alone. We also are dedicated to increasing chess literacy, the ability to read and write chess notation, so that you can open up the world, the ocean of chess literature to anybody, anywhere. And if you are on the internet, you can find the chess community. And if you are not, we can build the chess community wherever you are, whatever language you speak, whatever country you're from. We can help you. That's what the Eade Foundation is for. Today, the question is, do you ICC? And I have brought the president of the ICC to come in and tell us about what is the ICC, how did it start, where did it begin, and then I'm going to bring in a fact checker just to make sure he's telling us the straight story. And I want to bring onto the program the ICC president, Marty Grubb. Marty, hello, thank you for joining me on today's show.
Totally a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Please tell our audience, our viewing audience, because they may not know as much about the ICC as I do, which is, you know, and I have an extravagant background in knowledge of the ICC because I don't play chess online. I come from the old days when we played face-to-face over the board. Yes. And so tell me, how did you get started playing online?
Well, my personal experience was messing with computers back in the day of 300 baud modems, where the internet hadn't really kicked into gear yet. And I was my father was a radio and TV repairman, and he gave me a ham radio where I didn't have a ham license, but it really intrigued me. I could listen to people all around the world, so I thought that's really cool. But when the modems and being able to dial up to websites like General Electric's.
Wait a second, Marty. We're getting into specifics, so I'm going to bring in our fact checker. Oh, Brian is not ready, so I'm going to wait for just a second. Now he's ready. Now bring Brian Karen on. Brian, you're going to be my fact checker. Marty's going to tell us the story, and you supplement or correct whenever necessary. Hi, Brian. Thanks for coming on my show.
Okay.
All right, Marty. So go ahead. The baud rate was abysmal when you started.
Well, there was no internet, far as I knew, at the time I messed with this this modem being able to dial up. It was like getting onto a website that had different areas where you could talk about recipes or yeah, different genres of chat conversation. But they had a game area, and the game area had checkers, I believe, and chess. And I had played chess, never over the board, never US chess or USCF rated play, but in Boy Scouts I'd play and messed around a little with it. And I thought, well, I'll jump in here and play a few games. And there was a difficulty in chatting. It was $5 an hour after 6 p.m. and $15 an hour during the day if you wanted to get on and actually be able to type chat to others. And there were several people on there, and we all had these 2-letter codes or 3-letter codes we could kind of chat back and forth with. And we got really adept at it. And Brian Karen here, and Lee Walker, and Steve Kelly, and I forget, there was a couple others that Brian may remember, but we had this kind of consortium of people that played, and we it was really difficult in those days to log in. You had to put in a COM port, dial-up number, and your ISP and all that. Anyway, long story short, I thought, boy, these people are pretty intelligent. You know, hey, I got Brian's phone number, or I can't quite remember Brian, but I got everybody's phone number. We chatted, and we were on this site for quite some time. But then we found the Imagination Network, another dial-up site. And this one was similar. You had to pay a certain amount per hour. I was a stained glass craftsman for 37 years and didn't have a lot of money. My wife was the breadwinner as a postal clerk, and she didn't know I was spending $300 a month playing on the Imagination Network with these friends of mine, these online friends. And we were sitting there playing one day, and the interface was a chessboard, and you had a chat area below. And in the chessboard, you know, the screen had the board up, and when you played and somebody chatted, it would pop up a big rectangle in the middle of your board and disturb your play.
Oh my goodness! So it was a graphical user interface, but it had some difficulty.
Yeah, it wasn't wisely put together. So, so one day we were watching, and Brian said, "Hey, that's Roman Djindjiashvili playing," and we all hovered around watching his game. And I said something like, "Why did he move his knight to d6?" Or, you know, and the next day I log in, there was no internet. This was inter-message system. I had a message when I logged in the next day that's all in capital letters. "Don't you ever chat during my game again," followed by 20 exclamation points. So I messaged back, "Look, I'm just Marty Grubb, a stained glass guy in Des Moines with corn in his shoes. I apologize. I know you're a famous grandmaster, and I've never met one before." Next day I log in, "Give me your phone number," all in capital letters, and I gave him my phone number. An hour later, he's inviting me to come to Manhattan, and Brian to come visit too. So I flew in. I told my wife I'm going to go, so I flew in, and he took me to Carnegie Deli. We went to Washington Square Park. You know, this was a very interesting moment in my life.
Brian, how did you know it?
Wait, what did you say? I couldn't hear what you just said.
How did you know it was Roman?
You know, well, first, I mean, someone told me I could do it for someone, but also you could tell by the play. Back then, there were very few strong players on. You know, mostly non-tournament players. You know, I was rated back then, I think 1800, and I was probably like the 4th or 5th strongest player. I think there were 1 or 2 masters, and then Roman. And what was really funny about it is Roman, it would be very obvious when I was playing Roman. You know, I'm playing mostly very weak players or at best, you know, around my strength. And then all of a sudden I would play someone who's just playing fantastically. And remember, this was like 94. Yes. People weren't using computers as much, and they weren't nearly as strong. In fact, back then, before, you know, it beat Kasparov, people were like, "Oh, computers won't be Grandmaster," even as late as then, even though they were probably around that, close to that strength then anyway. So it was very obvious it was Roman. You could tell from the moves. And it would be funny because he would pick all these different handles. And then he would play me thinking he's fooling me. And, you know, very quickly I'd be like, "This is Roman, you know, there's no question. No one's as strong as this." And then after they'd say, "Oh, it's you, Roman." And I'm all surprised.
Yeah.
What's that?
Roman would be an early adopter. Yeah, that was.
Yeah. Also, I will say, I remember, just as long as we're on this tangent, I remember the first computer cheat. It might be the first computer cheat caught, period, or so. I remember a guy in there. He was obviously cheating because I would look over the games, you know, later on. This was actually a year or 2 later. And then when he finally got to ICC, because then the same guy logged on ICC, I might have talked to Marty or so, and we immediately had him banned. So that might have. I wish I remembered his name because he should be recognized in history as the first computer cheat, and he was really obvious about it.
There was only Chessmaster back then, right?
Yeah, I think exactly, more or less.
Yeah.
I mean, there were other ones, like Larry Kaufman had one, stuff, but yeah, Chessmaster was the best one, or the most widely one used one.
Yeah. So
fantastic program at the time. Yeah.
What's that?
That was a fantastic program at the time. The guys from Nevada, I think they were here in Marin County, out in California.
Yeah, Chessmaster was great. And they once met with Marty. They were once going to go on with ICC, but unfortunately they went in another direction. You remember that, Marty?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, too bad they didn't go with us. That would have been a nice thing.
Did you guys ever pitch ICC to the USCF at that time?
Well, that happened later on, and we went through several CEOs, and one of which did US Chess Live, which was an attempt to try to do a branded server for US Chess, but that happened several years later. Yeah, but back to the Roman days. So here I am. befriended now with Roman Ginchihashvili, this robust and gregarious guy that pulled no punches. Anyway, so I found this book called The Internet, and it had a free chess server. Here I was spending $300 a month that I couldn't afford, and now there's this IP number and an FTP site, and you had to so you bounced into this IP number, and up on your screen comes an ASCII chessboard where the pawns are the white pawns are capital P, the black pawns lowercase p. It looked really dinosauric.
Yes.
And they had a help channel. It said type 1 your question. And a day or two, I kept calling and I kept asking, is there a graphical interface? And somebody came back and said, yes, a graduate student made this one. And then you had to go to an FTP site. And at 300 baud, it took me an hour to download this thing. Then you had to have a text editor, and you brought up a text editor and put in your IP number of the site, your dial-up phone number, and your baud rate, COM port, and then save that file, put it into the interface, and then fire it up, and it took you to this free internet chess server. So that was cool. Now I got with Roman and said, Roman, check this out. And of course, he's about as adept with computers as my wife. And it took a while, but we got him in. And then he got all excited and said, Marty, call my friend in St. Petersburg, an international master. Call my grandmaster over here, Fred. Call this guy. So I'm bringing in this bunch of titled players, and I get a message on the free internet chess server. Who are you? From this guy called Daruha. And I said, well, I'm Marty Grubb in Des Moines, a stained glass guy. He said, well, I like your helping people and the help channel, and boy, you're bringing in Washington Square Park with titled players. How about becoming an administrator? This was a moment, and it was exciting for me. You know, the ham radio thing, and now I've got this family of friends and real serious chess players. You know, I'm maybe a 1350 rated chess player, but you know, I'm
yeah, cool.
No, it was really took my evenings away, put it that way.
Yeah.
So here I am, and now an administrator on the side, and I've got these friends from GE. It was General Electric. It was GE, capital GE, NIE, Genie. The 1-800 dial-up, and then we had the INN network, which was Imagination Network, which was all kinds of games, more graphical, Dungeons and Dragons, checkers, chess, backgammon, and then we found this free site where we didn't have to pay a dime, except our internet providers. We had this kind of crew of Lee Walker and Steve Kelly and my son, who's now 37. This morning, Brian said to me, do you remember D-Way? D-Way, a username from INN that we are also friends with. I couldn't remember what. Anyway, so here we are on this free internet server, and Professor Slater, who created it, he took two graduate students' rough software that had illegal moves and several no time stamp, so he took this and tore it down and rebuilt it to create this site that had move checking and all the proper rules into the game for online play. And keep in mind, this was in 94-5 when Amazon had just started a year earlier than 94-5. So it was kind of the Wild West, and nobody was it was looked down to have a business on this Wild West free internet thing. So here we are, kind of breaking the rules when, in fact, in '94, Danny said he's getting offers to sell it. He's just going to give it away. He's working on algorithms for a future robot to land on Mars. And he doesn't have time for this. And I said with his wife, look, we'll run the show along with Eric Peterson, who brilliant and actually a feeding master. We'll take this and roll with it. You don't have to do a thing but count the beans. Let's charge $49 for adults and $25 for kids, and it's the best online site for chess, and roll with it. And we went commercial March 1st, 1995.
Wow.
But we were kind of we broke the sacrilege of having a commercial business on the internet. So yeah, we had it just exploded. The first 10 years, we were the 800-pound gorilla. We had Magnus Carlsen grew up on ICC, Carl Ano, Hikaru Nakamura. All these. We were it. We ran the first rated U.S. chess event in '98, where John Fernandez, who is now running for executive board, vote for John. We had a proctored event where we ran the first rated online event. We were at the top of the World Trade Center for Kasparov Anand.
Yes.
With the first broadcast of internet relay with Carol Jarecki, and pray for her. She's hurting right now. I'm hoping she's going to be fine. She was in the booth with, yes, for real.
Well, Marty, I don't know if you remember, I was in the booth. Like, I went to the World Trade Center with Carol Jarecki, and through ICC, me and Lee Walker, you can still find our reports online. So I went there before it all started to inspect the site with the organizer and Carol Jarecki, and she had all sorts of, do this, you got to do this. And sort of like a fact checker here. I'm just sitting around, watching. And then the guy who's the organizer, he goes, "Is there anything you need?" And they didn't really know what I was. Like, when I said I'm going to be relaying this to the internet, that was one of the first, And I said, well, I guess it would be good if I had like a way to like clearly see Kasparov. And the guy goes, "Well, we'll build a glass booth above the players that only you and Lee will be in." And sure enough, it was the experience of a lifetime. The '95 championship, I was in a glass booth above the players, and relay and everything, for the internet. No one knew what was going on. I remember I was in the VIP room because me and Lee would switch off, and Larry Christensen was giving the lecture there. And I said, Grandmaster Schussler, he disagrees with what you said. And he goes, where's Schussler? And I'm like, no, he's on the computer. And he had no idea what I was talking about. He's completely confused. I can go on and on. The funniest story from that time was that so I come in to broadcast the championship. This is like, before it's going to start. And the keyboard's not there. They have my computer there. There's no keyboard. So I go to the organizer, or one of the people working there, what happened to my keyboard? And he goes, well, we locked it up for security. So where did they lock it up? They locked it up in Anand's dressing room. This is like third game before they're going to start. And you have all these people on ICC and Marty and other people saying, Brian, what's going on? Where are you? And so I say, well, I have to wait till he starts playing. I don't want to interrupt Anand before the game. And but the guy, again, I don't think it was an organizer. One of the people who worked for him says, no, Anand's not in the dressing room. You can just go right in there and take it. So I'm like, okay. So, I go to the dressing room. I cautiously knock. No one says anything. Open up the door. Sure enough, there's Anand. And I'm like, I have to get my keyboard. This is minutes before the game starts. So Anand, nicest guy, doesn't say anything.
Yes.
Complete idiot, getting my keyboard like 3 minutes before he's going to go on. Then, and of course it was Kasparov, needless to say, I would take my life in my hands. Right. Anyway, that game, Anand actually missed a win. either Casper. No, I'm pretty sure it was Anand missed the win, and we were again in the VIP room. This is the press thing afterwards, and someone says to Anand, Poe, this park hustler, somehow he got in there. He goes to Anand. He goes, they come to the position where Anand could have won the game. He goes, you think Kasparov would have missed that? And, and I'm just waiting for Anand to go, well, that guy, pointed to the back of the room and me, here's my competition. But Anand is like, quickly, he's just a smart guy. He goes, Kasparov did miss it, because obviously, he wouldn't allow it if he saw it. But that was scary time, but it was fun also. Things like that happened there. One other thing, before I let Marty go, because with the other stuff, the other funny story, we broadcast the Harvard Cup. This was, I think, if not the first internet broadcast, certainly one of them. It was very early on. Chris Trevry would run these computers versus the human things.
Yes.
And so I was running one of the first things. I remember I had a laptop and I couldn't believe it. It was like this new device, So my friend Paul Dewar is the demo board guy, and he's a nice guy, maybe like 1,500 or something. No, I don't. He wasn't even that at that point. And I'm broadcasting to like whatever was on, 3,000 people, however many people were watching this event. And he keeps messing up the demo board, and I'm entering in the wrong moves, and everyone's yelling at me. And I'm like, it's the demo board guy. And I didn't say that, because he's my friend. But I'm like, what's going on here? And I go, Paul, the rook went to C1. And I go, oh, thanks, Brian. Like, it's not like a big deal. And I'm feeling like, so the next day, I talked to Chris Trevry and Dan Edelman, the organizers. And I say, listen, Paul's my friend, but you got to get a new demo board guy. He can't keep up with the players, because they'd be moving very quickly. And so he goes, okay, I have someone for you. He's a Harvard professor. He's like 2,300, and he just always wanted to operate a demo board. So he'll do it. Sure enough, they put that guy on there, and the guy's perfect. I can't believe it. In speed chess, he's doing it all. I'm entering in. I'm loving it. And for years then, I thought that this guy was a Harvard professor, 2,300. One day, I'm at the amateur team with Avi Friedman, who we should also mention was a big part of all this start and everything. In any case, I'm walking with Aviv, and I point to a bag. I tell him that story. I go, there's that Harvard professor. He's like 2,300. I'm not going to mention who the person was. I don't want to embarrass him. But Aviv goes, Brian, that guy, he's not a Harvard professor. That guy is crazy. He's low rated and stuff. And I'm like, so Chris or whoever, they just wouldn't do it. So I was me. I'll let Marty get on. But that was a hilarious experience.
No, Avi Friedman was also at the table where you were, Brian, with laptop doing a relay of the event.
The 95 match, yeah.
Yes, the 95 top of the World Trade Center.
I can go on with a story of that also. That was kind of funny because that's when me and Aviv first met. What happened was Aviv at that time was working for Fix, the free internet chess server. When ICC went commercial, they kind of split them up. And the free internet chess server was the people who didn't want to go commercial. The nice thing was it kind of worked out for both because we had the commercial and we had Fix, and there were advantages. Like we wouldn't have been covering all these events and doing all the things we were able to do if we didn't go commercial. And then they still had Fix, which is still around somewhere. Anyway, Aviv at that time was working for Fix. He was one of the head guys there. And before the event started, this 95 match, Aviv says to me, and we didn't even know each other too well at that point. He goes, yeah, I'm going to be there too. Meaning, Fix was going to be there also. So I put in the admin channel, which only admins see. Oh no, Aviv is going to be, Fix is going to be there. This is, whatever I said. It's terrible. This, that. Not knowing that Aviv, knows everyone, and he knew people in the admin channel. So when we get to the event, again, I'm at the 95 match. I'm like, there's Avi Friedman, and he's glaring at me like I'm, the worst person in the world. I'm like, what in the world did I do? Why is this guy so angry? But then very early on, we, he explained it. I apologized, and then he was in the booth with me and Lee, and huge help, obviously. Okay, go ahead, Marty.
No. So anyway, he came on board with ICC shortly thereafter as administrator and part of our organization. Anyway, we thought at the time our argument for going commercial with the Fix free chess folks was, trust us. We're going to put this money back in to improve our site, to be more just the money's going to go for a good improvement in chess online. And we had some naysayers, but we had like 12,000 people watching one of the matches that we covered. We set some records on ICC for observers. Yeah, it was quite the ride. I mean, some famous people came on board. Peter Thiel from PayPal. We had Sting playing, and rumors of Madonna, and in the early days, even Bobby Fischer, that somebody said had played on ICC. We had
yes.
top.
I wouldn't go with Fisher. That was like
that was a rumor. But then Howard Stern, who takes lessons from Dan Heisman, gets on, and I get a phone call one day from Dan saying, "Marty, can you keep it a secret? Somebody wants to call you." And I said, "Fine." And I get a phone call. "Hey Marty, Howard Stern here." And I said, "Oh my God, what's a not so Jewish guy calling another not so Jewish guy?" And he said, "I love your site. I want to compliment you and maybe get a tour of how to use it a little more." So, and just like the Gingy call, in an hour, I'm getting invited to a show. And I'm thinking, I told my wife and my guys on ICC, he's inviting me to one of his shows at the 26th floor of Avenue Americas. They're not the most child safe shows he does. Should I take it in the gut for ICC and go? So I did. I flew out, and I'm in the green room waiting to go on. He said, "Marty, come out and watch the last half hour of the show." So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go in and sit in some stadium seating off to the side and just kind of hunker down and hopefully not get grossed out by Howard Stern nasty. And Gary Delabonte, his producer forever, says, "Okay, Marty, come on." And he's behind me, and we go up to these doors, open it up to an unbelievable studio where Howard's behind 9 monitors, and Artie Lang, his Ed McMahon sidekicks off to the side, and Robin Quivers, his forever sidekicks in a glass booth with a headset. And I look and I see Howard, and I see Artie, and I see Robin, and all of a sudden I see Howard. I hear Howard Stern say, "Hey," and look at me, by the way, this is not the most handsome thing in the world. So Howard says, "Hey, there's Marty Grund, my best friend on the internet, but now that I see him in real life, I'm glad I just played him on the internet." I turn around, and there's Gary with a chair and a headset, and I go, because I was looking for the stadium seating I could get and hide. And I turned around to Gary and I said, "I'm kind of screwed, aren't I?" And he said, "Maybe." Sits the chair down, puts the headset on me, and Howard's saying, "Yeah, well, I've never been so nervous in my life. 15 minutes of being teased and Robin Quivers saying, 'God, is Marty always this nervous?' No. He blows gas in Des Moines, Iowa. No, wait a minute, blows glass. No, what do you do, Marty? No, I do stained glass, Howard." It was an interesting moment.
Well, Marty, I always say that I have a face made for radio. So, it's one of these things. The internet is a great place.
Yeah.
Like you and me to be anonymous. So I'm sorry, but now the world, hi Mom, is going to know what you look like.
That's okay. I'm happily married.
Yes, there you go.
So I fear nothing now.
Yeah.
So ICC has meant more to me in so many ways. I've met wonderful people. Some wonderful things have happened. I just Brian, PMK, and Mel on ICC met on ICC 16, 17 years ago, and they met on ICC, and they've been married 15 years as of a couple days ago. And I sent them flowers for their 15th anniversary. We with our co-promotional agreement with US Chess have been given booths at scholastic events, and at one of them several years ago, I was told by Bill Scotty on ICC, you got to go meet this little Filipino coach over there from Chicago. And I walk over to the table, and here are these kids of color with hoodies laying down in between rounds on the table, and a big heavy-set black woman with freckles that they're chaperone. And here's this little short Filipino coach. And I go over and I say, hi, I was told to say hello to you. Marty, at that time, Vice President of ICC. And he says, Mr. Grubb, let me tell you my story. This is West Side Chicago children at Earl and Marshall Elementary and Junior High. And we had to sell cupcakes and T-shirts and so forth to get here. The Chicago Public Schools have very little money to give us a chance to get these kids out of the dregs of humanity, where they have 3 gangs to go through to even get to the bus stop. That I teach chess from 3 to 6 p.m. in the afternoons to get them out of the gangs and show them a game that gives them geometry and math and better decision making. And I buy the moms in rehab from drug and dads in prison kind of families, just the saddest thing you can imagine. The kids come to school hungry, so out of my own pocket, I buy food and teach them chess 3 to 6. And the sad news is that 2 of the children were murdered on the way to chess class. And the gangs they go through just are horrible. He said, but we can't afford to get to these national events. And I went back and wrote a letter called A Call to Action. And it's on our site. Joseph O'Cool, O-C-O-L. Saint Joseph, I refer to him as. We ended up, in ICC, we have a vociferous chat going on in different venues, from sports to politics. And in the politics channel, there are literally hundreds of people on. And I told them, read my letter, A Call to Action about St. Joseph and Mama Bear, that the chaperone, and what he's done to save these kids and show them another world. And in 1 week, we raised enough money to get them to, I forget whether it was K-12 or Super Nationals.
Right.
And one of the girls won her section. And Rahm Emanuel, mayor of Chicago, invited us for a meeting and a resolution written for the children and Joseph and the kids, and applause. And the next year we did the same thing, got them to another national event. Cook County Commissioner Steele invited us, the same sort of thing, where the kids saw that there's another world that's beyond the gang street, gang-ridden streets. And the third year, we were invited to the White House to meet Michelle and Barack Obama.
Oh my goodness.
And unfortunately, it was their daughter's graduation. We didn't get to meet them, but Congressman Davis took us all over the Capitol and the White House. And you know, these are the stories that have filled my heart. You know,
it's such heady stuff. I'm just so proud of you.
Well, Andy McFarland, another, sorry, Jim, I know you're up against the clock probably, but you know, Andy McFarland was online. Our administrator saw somebody, I need help. And there was, I forget the guy's name, Brian, but.
Graffs, was it CJ Graffs?
Yeah, CJ Graffs. The man, he saved his life. The man was hurting from a heart attack or something. He was a crippled person and was in dire need of help, and it made the news.
Should mention Andy created, it's not the first, certainly the first most popular graphic user interface, Zix, which everyone's using, like, yeah, you know, now that, you know, they have chess.com, and like everyone has their GA, but that was really good back then. I remember it was a huge difference, as Marty explained how we used to enter, you know, you type in the moves and you have flex boards and all this primitive stuff. And Andy McFarland, I mean, even if you used his graphic user interface today, I don't think it would be that bad. It was pretty good. It was like, you know, graphic representation pieces. You could flip back and forth between the console. It was very good. You know, by the way, just so we don't forget, Marty, I was thinking of another thing. ICC was instrumental in so many things. One of the big things, I need to go through my files. Marty probably has them too. we had the first bullet chess. Bullet as a term didn't even exist.
Right.
ICC did that. And I remember the email thread, they wanted a name for it. And it was going back and forth. And I think it was either Tim McGrew or Tom O'Connor, one of those guys, said, let's call it bullet chess because it's just like bull, S-H-I-T, you know, and as a joke, we put it up there, and now it's like, you know, all of a sudden a very common thing.
It's why I gave up playing on because I got addicted to it.
Yes, oh, trust me, I can tell stories.
Yeah.
And I have a funny thing also, I don't want to forget, I mentioned, I was in the admin channel years and years ago, like, this is a long time ago. We have a little kid at my club playing who's incredible, okay, Hikaru Nakamura.
Yeah.
In the admin channel, I go, listen, we have future world champion. There's a future world champion at my club. Guarantee it. This kid, you know, talent off the roof. Well, this other guy, Tarjay Sevenson, speaks up and he goes, no, Brian, you're wrong. The future world champion that's at my club. But Tarjay is from Norway. Later, or whatever it was, when it's, you know, Magnus becomes world champion or is clearly on his way, I go, hey, Tarji, do you remember this conversation we had like a long time ago? And without skipping a beat, he goes, yes, you know, I win. He's world champion. Oh,
yeah. U.S. champion. He's still working on the world champion.
Yeah, exactly.
That reminded me, when I went to Vikings Day, I'm at breakfast, and here comes Magnus's father, Magnus, sitting across from me. And I introduced myself, and he said, oh my goodness, this was where Magnus's playground, ICC. Yeah, he'd come on and play, he'd examine, he'd play, examine. Look where he is.
Well, you know,
everyone says, like, or everyone back then would say, blitz chess isn't helpful for your chess, or a lot like Botvinnik and stuff spoke out against it. I think with ICC and online chess now, what changed is you can actually look over your blitz games. Like it used to be, Kamsky, I once met Kamsky, he said how he used to have to write them down from memory. When he was a little kid and played blitz, he'd actually write down. But of course, most people couldn't do that. So with ICC and online chess in general, it was the first time you could play a lot of blitz games and then actually analyze them. So I don't think blitz chess is, it's still probably a little controversial and there's some bad things about it. But it's useful. You have those game records. You can look at how you played the opening. And I think that made a big difference in why people like Nakamura and Carlsen and everyone else became so good playing blitz. But I'll let you guys go on.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to tell you that I am running up against the gong, which sounds only in my ears. But I have to wrap it up. But I do want to say you're still working on broadcasting live tournaments. And are you doing something with one of these relatively small tournaments this weekend, Marty?
Oh, this is not a relatively small one this weekend. Oh. And it's the Amateur Team East on ICC.
Oh, that's biggie.
No, it's huge. No, there are some
favorite tournament I ever played in, and I'm on the West Coast, so I only played in it once. But I just thought it was the best tournament I ever played.
I've never seen a more a big production with the team that Steve Doyle has hired or are working with him to do Twitch and so forth.
Right.
It's phenomenal, and there's some 540 playing. We've been running since COVID, Bill Goichberg's Continental Chess tournaments every weekend. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars in prizes. I mean, mind you, his World Open would be $250,000. Maybe he does 25,000 but we ran the World Open on ICC. We've been running all these events, and the reason I look like this is because I've been on the phone with parents that their child had used illegal assistance. And I have to break the news for those kind of things. But it's been a busy, sleepless eight months of COVID. But ICC at this moment in time, after kind of Silicon Valley beating us up a little bit over 15 years, and us hanging in there for 25, or being the big boy on the block for 10 of those 25, we have a niche that organizers are seeing where you can grab a Swiss sys file and put 1,000 people in there and give it to us, and we'll run your event, hand you around 2, 3 through 10. We've got a seamless integration of it. This will be a fun event this weekend, and I think if you just look around, just go to the Amateur Team East webpage, you'll be able to see some great, they're thinking maybe Kasparov might come in. I guess Spassky was maybe a possibility, but he's kind of in a wheelchair now to come in and share some thoughts on. Anyway, this is a monster production and a moment of a renaissance for ICC and credibility of online, organized, fair play, overseen play that runs seamless. So it's a new dawn for us again. I'm really excited.
So happy, and I want you to know that the Eade Foundation has your back. If I can help in any way, you just let me know, because I think that just the stories you've just told today have touched me greatly. What we want to do is help people that can't help themselves. They don't have the resources, give them the resources. If you can, why not?
Absolutely. No, it's, you know, we'll go to our deathbeds with a smile on our face, knowing we're not perfect, but we tried. That's my.
Yes. Good for you guys. I was really taken with the stories, because I remembered the old dial-up days very, very well. And where you are now compared to where you began, you couldn't have imagined it back then. And so good job, both of you. And I'm going to have to say goodbye to you now, but we will be in touch. And
thanks, James.
And thank you, Brian, for telling me to get in touch with Marty. I really appreciated that.
Okay, sure.
Great to get to know you, Marty, and what you're doing. And you know, we'll be in touch.
Please, Stan.
Okay, so I'm going to take you guys backstage and say goodbye to the viewing audience. Hi, Mom. And but we'll talk again. Okay. All right. This has been the Chess Files. The answers are out there. By the Eade Foundation. The Eade Foundation is dedicated to building communities through chess. And if you're part of a community, you're never alone. And if you don't have a way to start a community of chess players in where you live, whatever language you speak, whatever country you're in, the Eade Foundation can help you. That's what we're about. So this has been a wonderful show from my point of view, because it was something that I did not know a great deal about, because I'm an old dog, and learning the new trick of playing chess online is difficult for me. But if you're young, it's probably second nature. But this show is broadcast every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you love this show, please tune in next week. We're going to keep doing it as long as I can do it. And it's fun for me. And my guests today, I hope they had fun too. So thank you again for being a part of this broadcast. And we will see you next week.